Welcome to something to talk about.
Yeah, really loud.
Welcome to something to talk about.
Hi! Welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I got one of those What's the Difference? Let's talk about the differences for you. And we got House of the Dragon character. We're going to talk about Laenor Velaryon. Because just a couple episodes ago when I talked about Alistair Thorne, I was like, man, that video was way too long, and I never want to talk about a character that long, make a video that long ever again. And then here we are. Laenor's probably going to be about the same. I have 2 TV slides this time instead of 3 like with Alistair. So, oh man, that was a slog. We'll see if this one's less of one. So, we're going to talk about House Velaryon first. And then, if you don't know what's going on here, then we're going to talk about Laenor from the television show. And then we're going to cover all of his book stuff, which is quite a lot. And then we're going to talk about major differences. So, and there's a lot here. Well, I think there's a lot. Yeah, that's actually a pretty major one. All right, let's go. You guys ready? I'm ready. Armed and ready, sir. I don't know why I'm doing Independence Day references. Doesn't make any sense. House Velaryon or Velaryon. House Velaryon is of Driftmark, and they rule the island of Driftmark, the largest island in the Blackwater Bay in the Crownlands. Their castles include Driftmark and High Tide. High Tide was built by Laenor's papa, Corlys, I believe, right? Yeah. The head of House Velaryon is titled the Lord of the Tides and a Master of Driftmark. The Velaryons are sworn to Dragonstone. Their arms are silver seahorse on sea green. It's pretty cool. And their words are the old, the true, the brave. It's great because isn't it the few and the proud, the navy? Like the blah, the blah, the blah. So it's like, and these guys have like a big navy, right? Is that on purpose or is that the few, the proud, the old, the true, the brave? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just weird. House Velaryon is of Valyrian descent, and its members often have Valyrian features, such as silver, gold hair, and or silver hair, silver, gold, or just silver, and purple eyes. Some Valyrians have blue or green eyes, though. Yeah, we'll talk about appearances later on. Don't worry about it. All right, show. Let's go. Prince Laenor. In the television adaptation House of the Dragon, Laenor is portrayed by John Macmillan as an adult, Theo Nate as a teen, and Matthew Carver as a child. Aemon Targaryen, Laenor's grandfather, was the eldest son of the heir of the old King Jacaerys, right? Aemon died before Jaery did, but then Jaery controversially passed over Rhaenys, which is Laenor's mom, as heir on account of her sex, naming his second son Balon as heir. Balon himself died a few years later, after which the elderly Jaery held a great council at Harrenhal, in which all the lords of Westeros voted on whether Viserys or Rhaenys was to succeed to the throne. Viserys won the election by a wide margin and succeeded to the throne. If Rhaenys had been chosen, Laenor would have been the next in line to the throne. Later on, Laenor mounted on his young dragon Sea Smoke to fight in the War of the Stepstones, which is a war that Rogue Prince Daemon and his dad Corlys really wanted. It is Laenor who proposes sending in Daemon as bait to lure out the Triarchy forces from cover. His uncle, Sir Vaemond, criticizes Daemon. Laenor responds by accusing his uncle of inaction and cowardice, calling him the Master of Complaints, which is a pretty great title. Vaemond, Master of Complaints. Laenor then participates in the following battle, burning Triarchy men with his dragon to avoid Corlys making an alliance with the Sea Lord of Braavos by marrying Laenor to his son. Laena to his son. King Viserys arranges a marriage between Rhaenyra. Oh my God. Why do I struggle on the main character's name? What are we doing here? Rhaenyra. This is amateur hour over here. It's when I try to read it, because I can just say Rhaenyra, but then when I try to read it, I start to say Rain, like I screw up. And Laenor to unite the two powerful houses in the realm. Two most powerful houses, except for the other powerful houses. I think Lannisters and Hightowers would be like, yeah, don't call the Velaryons more powerful than us. Well, Corlys did some stuff. All right, so that's like the first couple episodes, right? Did the War of the Stepstones. I kind of set up things, all right? And yeah, let's get to Husband to a Queen. When Viserys, or not when, just Viserys and Rhaenyra traveled to High Tide to finalize the arrangements for Laenor and Rhaenyra's marriage as the prospective bride and groom. As they walk along the shore together, they come to an understanding that the union is entirely a political one, and that they both have found a love elsewhere. Laenor being attracted to men. He later shares this afternoon with his lover, Joffrey Lonmouth. At the wedding, Joffrey talks to Criston Cole about this. He's the one who's been banging Rhaenyra. Cole begins to just beat the tar out of him, right? Joffrey Lonmouth is like, hey, you know how you bang the queen? I bang the groom. And yeah, Christy's like, yeah, well, I'm about to bang you. It's like, wait, why did you say it that way? Yeah, he beats him to death. It's pretty brutal. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, he begins just beating the crap out of him. Laenor tries to throw Criston off of Joffrey, but gets knocked out himself. He effed around and found out. When Laenor wakes up, Joffrey has been beaten to death, causing Laenor to loudly anguish over his loss. Later that evening, Laenor and Rhaenyra are married in a private ceremony while Joffrey's blood is still warm. Wow. 10 years later, a little time skip. Laenor, despite trying, has failed to produce. Rhaenyra has 3 bastard children with Harwin Strong, named Jacaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey. Joffrey's named after his former lover. The boys are presented to the realm as true-born sons of Laenor. Like his wife, Laenor also has found new love in a knight named Corlys. While Laenor wants to return to fighting in the Stepstones, Rhaenyra commands him to stay, and the family also then moves to Dragonstone to be away from the Greens because tensions are rising. And Laenor is allowed to take Carl with him. In a play to strengthen Rhaenyra's claim by instating Daemon as prince consort and allow Laenor to his desired freedom, they fake a fight between Laenor and Corey, and then fake his death. A servant murdered by Daemon is planted in the hall and burned beyond recognition to make it seem that Laenor has been killed. Laenor then shaves his head to hide his Valyrian features and escapes on a boat with Carl, with the aim of self-exile in Essos. Wow, there we go. That's all the season 1 stuff there, right? That's it. So he fakes his death to be with his lover and then runs off to Essos. So that's how it happens in the show. So let's get to the book. And yeah, we're not doing too good. It was about 10 minutes to get through Alistair Thorne's, and now we're at 9 minutes. So all right, I'll try to speed up. Book. Laenor Velaryon. Laenor Velaryon is the only son of Corlys Velaryon and Prince Rhaenys Velaryon. Laenor was born in at 94 AC to Lord Corlys and Rhaenys. I don't know why I said that twice. He had one older sister, Laena. Laenor was a dragon rider whose dragon was sea smoke. Laenor had a alkaline nose. All right, alkaline nose, alkaline. I don't know how to say that. Silver white hair and purple eyes. According to the Fool Mushroom, Laenor's sister Laena was almost as pretty as her brother. Mushroom. It's not nice to say. Laenor was known to have a lack of interest in women, instead preferring to surround himself with handsome young men of his age. Sir Christy Cole, an enemy of Laenor's wife Rhaenyra, proclaimed that the boys had not been, that no boy is safe around Laenor. That's a mean thing to say. I'm sure they're safe. Like Laenor doesn't like kill people or anything. All right, moving on. Heir to the Iron Throne. When Prince Aemon Targaryen died shortly after Rhaenys learned that she was pregnant in 92 AC, Rhaenys and her first unborn child were passed over in favor of Baelon. When Rhaenys finally gave birth to a son during her second pregnancy, like I said, Laena is older. Baelon had already been firmly encoused as the heir apparent. Regardless of this, both House Velaryon and House Baratheon, for whom Rhaenys descended, insisted that the newly born Laenor had the better claim to the Iron Throne. Following Baelon's death in 101, Jacaerys' heir was unclear. Although Baelon had left behind 2 living sons, he had been a second son, while Laenor and his mother and sister could claim descent from Jacaerys' firstborn son. Wasn't his firstborn, but it's the oldest one to come of age. It was reported to the court that Lord Corlys was gathering ships on Driftmark to defend Laenor's rights. Wow, he almost went to war right away. To resolve the issue, King Jerry I issued a great council to be held at Harrenhal in 101 to appoint his new heir. All right, let's get to Council 101. Council 101, see, told you. At Harrenhal, Laenor's parents used their wealth, influence to persuade the lords to vote for Laenor. During the council, the claims of Laenor and of Baelon's eldest son, Viserys, emerged as the most popular ones. There were other ones. Well, primogeniture followed Laenor. The principle of proximity, whatever that means, favored Viserys. Many at the council felt like the male line had to take precedence over the female line. Nor was Laenor's age favorable, since Laenor was only 7 years old and Viserys was already 24. Although Laenor had the support of Daemon Baratheon and Ellared Stark, Lord Manderly, Lord Dustin, and Lord Blackwood, Lord Bar Emmon, Lord Celtigar, and others. That's a lot of lords. The assembled lords overwhelmingly voted for Prince Viserys. While the actual numbers of the vote were never revealed, it was said that the vote had been more than 20-1 in Viserys' favor. Wow, that's big. Yeah, that's it. So you're already seeing a lot of differences. Don't worry, we're going to get to it. But now let's actually get to Laenor being an adult. When King Viserys and his small council sought a husband for Rhaenyra Targaryen, they eventually agreed on Laenor, as such a marriage would unite the 2 great houses again. The only objection raised was Laenor's lack of interest in women. Instead, it was reported he preferred the company of handsome squires his own age. He had never known a woman intimately and had not fathered any bastards, which, is a good thing, but here they're like, that's a bad thing. He has no bastards. Wow. After Grand Maester Mellos dismissed his concern, actually, sorry, let me rephrase that. I don't care about, I was born out of wedlock. I got nothing against people who are bastard born. But if this was a girl, they would be like, she is a mother to a bastard. And here they're like, dude, he doesn't even have any bastards. He doesn't even hang. It's just, I was pointing out the hypocrisy. I got nothing against bastardy because, like I said, I was born out of wedlock. Anyways, where was I? After Grand Maester Mellos dismissed the concern, the match was agreed upon. According to Archmaester Gildane, Princess Rhaenyra herself objected to the match as well, but conceded after Viserys threatened to replace her as heir with her half-brother Aegon. He's like, dude, you do it or I'm gonna make Aegon the heir. So according to Mushroom, Rhaenyra still tried to prevent the wedding by giving her maidenhead to Criston Cole, good old Crispy Crisp, claiming it meant nothing to Laenor, but Christy refused. However, according to Septim Eustace history, it was Christy who came to Rhaenyra offering to elope with her to the Free Cities, but she refused him. Either way, lover quarrel. We don't know which lover was quarreling and which one was the quarreled, but we know that they pretty much broke up. The non-people dating. They weren't dating, but they broke up. Marriage to Rhaenyra. Where am I? Laenor and Rhaenyra married 114 AC when the groom was 20 and the bride 17. It was agreed by all that they made a handsome couple. A fortnight before the wedding, Laenor was knighted during the tourney held to celebrate the wedding. Rhaenyra gave her favor to her new champion, Harwin Strong, and Laenor laughed and gave his own favor to his favorite, Joffrey Lonmouth. Uh-oh. Well, I think you guys can see where this is going. All right. So, yeah, Joffrey was then mortally wounded by Criston Cole during the joust. Joffrey died 6 days later, and according to Mushroom, Laenor spent all of the time by Joffrey's bedside, and 6 days later, by his bedside, and wept bitterly when Joffrey finally died. Afterwards, Laenor returned to Driftmark, causing many to wonder whether the marriage was ever consummated, as Rhaenyra remained at court. At high tide, Laenor quickly found a new lover, or a new favorite, probably the same thing, but yeah, you know what I mean, Carl Corey. They spent much of their time apart from one another, although he did join her at court for important events. Regardless of this, Rhaenyra's pregnancy was soon announced. Rhaenyra's, thank you. And in the waning days of 114 AC, she gave birth to her first child. Laenor wished to name the child Joffrey, but it was overruled by his father, who wanted to name the boy just Jacaerys, and that's what they went with, Jace. Rhaenyra gave birth to a second son a year later, who was named Lucerys, Luke. According to Septim Eustace, both Laenor and Sir Harlan Strong were at Rhaenyra's bedside at the birth, as both of the sons by Rhaenyra looked nothing like Laenor. Their appearance led to rumors about the parentage. When Lucerys was presented at court, Queen Alicent Hightower told Laenor, keep trying, soon of late you might get one that looks like you. After they returned to Dragonstone accompanied by Sir Harwin Strong, Laenor was said to have visited her frequently. They'd see each other sometimes. All right, we're getting close. Don't worry. Death and after. In 117, Rhaenyra gave birth to the third son, whom Laenor finally got allowed to name Joffrey in honor of Joffrey Lonmouth, as Joffrey also had, quote, common look of his brothers. His birth once again started the rumors that all three of the children had been fathered by Sir Harwin Breakbone Strong. In 120 AC, Laenor was slain by his lover, Carl Corey. What? While attending a fair at Spicetown, the merchants present reported that the two men had been quarreling loudly before the blades had come out. Septim Eustace insists that Carl had killed Laenor out of jealousy, believing that Laenor had become enamored with a new, younger male favorite. According to Mushroom, Carl had killed Laenor on behalf of Prince Daemon Targaryen. Wow! Although there was no shred of proof for this, it was just Mushroom being Mushroom. Laenor's body was collected by his father, Lord Corlys, who offered a reward of 10,000 golden dragons for anyone who could lead him to Sir Carl. However, Carl was never seen again. Carl Corey was never seen again. Laenor's funeral was held at high tide. After Laenor's death, Sea Smoke made its lair in the Dragonmount on the island of Dragonstone and remained riderless for almost a decade. Less than 6 months after his death, Rhaenyra secretly married her uncle, Prince Daemon, the Rogue Prince, during the sowing of the dragon seed. So now we're jumping ahead a little bit. Right now we're in Dance of Dragons territory. Marlinda of Hall brought forth her 2 sons, who are dragon seeds, Adam and Alan, claiming that they are Laenor's sons. Many were skeptical of this claim, though as they recalled Laenor's preference for men over women. Lord Corlys, however, gladly accepted his 2 grandchildren, although Mushroom insists that the children had been fathered by Corlys himself. During the sowing, Adam claimed Laenor's dragon sea smoke. Whew, all right, we did it. That was all we got. Now, as you can see, major differences. All right, many differences here. So let's break them down. Many differences. First off, the books, Laenor was the main opponent of Viserys at the Great Council, not his mother. So let's talk about the Great Council 101. So in the show, it's Rhaenys versus Viserys, and Jacaerys is there. There's 3 differences right there, because immediately Rhaenys gets booted because of her gender in the books, right? And then it's Laenor. So it's Laenor or Viserys. And also, old King Jerry didn't show up. He just got everybody there. He stayed home because he was really old at that point and he didn't want to travel. So then when everyone came back and they're like, hey, they picked Viserys, he's like, oh, Viserys is my heir. Solved, right? So that's one major difference, is how Council 101 happens. It's pretty different, because it's not the Queen Who Never Was versus Viserys. It's Viserys versus Laenor. And there's, of course, other names in the books, but we don't need to get into that. That's beyond our scope here. His appearance is different as well, of course. Yeah, they went with, like pretty much all of House Velaryon, or all of House Velaryon. They went with people of color, which is, I got nothing against. But the one major difference that they did change that I actually had an issue with was Rhaenys' hair color. So his mother in the book, Rhaenys, has dark hair because her mom was Jocelyn Baratheon and passed the dark hair on to her. So she is a Velaryon. Well, she married in the House Velaryon, and she has dark hair. So even though Laenor and Laena never had dark hair, it wouldn't be super weird if their kids had dark hair, right? So that changes, like, in the books. I think it's still pretty conclusive that that their kids, Rhaenyra's and Laenor's kids, are Harwin Strong's bastards. I think it's kind of clear, but it's solid in the show. Like, it is not up for debate pretty much in the show. Like, we're pretty much told who the dad is in the show. But in the books, I think you can make a good argument that Rhaenys' dark hair skipped a generation, and for some reason all 3 of them do. But they also had the other, quote, this is so gross, but common features, which means, not Velaryon, right? They don't look regal. They got pug noses. So, yeah. So that's a big thing. So is the appearances are, of course, pretty big major changes. His Alafer Joffrey Lonmouth was not beaten to death during a wedding in the book, but instead he got his skull cracked open during the tournament and died 6 days later. So that's pretty big, right? Also, in the book, his death seems pretty dry, like cut and dry, except sure Mushroom thinks that Daemon wanted Joffrey dead so Daemon can move in and marry Rhaenyra. But like, they had a fight in public, like at a fair, and then whipped out blades and died. You can't really fake that. Maybe it was. Somehow, why not? Maybe somebody dressed up like Laenor has a fight, but I doubt it. I think Laenor 100% died there in the books. And maybe Daemon had something to do with it. But they didn't go that way. In the show, they wanted to... I think they're trying to make Rhaenyra and Daemon look a little better in the show, and they're like, no, they're letting him escape. like, let him start his life. He clearly doesn't want to be king consort. He doesn't really want to do anything besides just hang out with his love and party. But like, so they went that route. It's pretty major differences. They kill him off in one thing and they don't kill him off in the other thing. And finally the Halls. So Adam and Alan are said to be his kids. And also they're much younger. So they didn't really go that route. I think in both, it makes sense for it to be Corlys. I think the fact that Adam and Alan are dragon riders always kind of confused me, but people, like, when the show was going on, I was like, well, how do they get the dragon riding blood? Because Laenor and Laena got it from Rhaenys, Corlys, and Velaryons. But after thinking so much, I think that a lot of it was they never had the right to try to claim dragons as Velaryons until they were more closely related to Targaryens, until it was like Rhaenys' kids. And I know people are like, oh, well, they married Targaryens and Velaryons forever. Yeah, but it was usually the other way around. It was usually a Velaryon wife went over to a Targaryen husband, and she's a queen to a Targaryen king, and not the other way around, where Valyrian blood or dragon riding blood went this way. But that doesn't mean that they didn't have it. That I do find it possible, because they now have the chance to try to claim dragons, that Adam of Hall, even though he is Corlys' son, could have dragon riding blood. I have been convinced. I convinced myself of that during the show. But either way, why do people say it's Laenor's kid, and why is that believable? Besides the fact that he wasn't really into women, well, because they're way younger in the books. In the books, Adam and Alan are teenagers, like young. They could easily be Laenor's kids, right? And Laenor hangs out at Hall, so yeah. Those are the big major differences of Laenor. And I don't mind Laenor from the show. I think it was cool. I think it definitely, I like it when they did do some things different, because it did surprise me, because I was like, oh, they're faking his death. That's interesting. Like, I didn't see that coming, and I actually get to be surprised because I read the book so many times. I didn't think I was going to be surprised by something, but I was. But yeah, ultimately, I don't mind the changes. I think he's a pretty, he's a cool character, but when it comes to the greater Dance of the Dragons storyline, he's out of it before it really starts. But they did make some pretty big changes. What do you think? Do you like both of them equally? Do you like the book version more than the show version? And yeah, that's all I got. This ended up being as long as the Alistair Thorne one. Oh my god, I hope the next Let's Talk About the Difference is shorter. Peace!